So I'm going to see 4 movies today, and I'm going to try and do the reviews after each one. The first movie was Anna. I know probably most people haven't even heard of this movie. It's directed by Luc Besson, who did 2 of my favorite movies, The Fifth Element and The Professional. Then he did one of the worst movies ever made, probably in my top 5 worst movies, which is Lucy. Valerian, it had its moments, but it wasn't very good either. So I went into this with, kind of low expectations because he hasn't really done it for me here lately. And this movie wasn't marketed. No one went and saw it. I forgot when it was even coming out, but I was reading the reviews and I thought, I'm going to check this out because it looks like something that I might be into. And surprisingly, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, because the Rotten Tomato score in this movie was in the 20s last time I checked. So I thought, oh man, what am I getting myself into? But it's actually kind of good. I kind of enjoyed it. It's not a perfect movie. It definitely has flaws, and I'll get into them. But what you have here is it takes place in the late 80s, early 90s. It's you got a KGB spy organization and the CIA, and they're kind of battling it out. And then you've got this girl who kind of gets inserted into the mix. She becomes an assassin for the KGB, and then you have some twists and turns, and it's kind of like a spy movie. I will say, going into it, I had no idea really what this movie was about. I can barely remember the trailer. And after I got out of it, it felt like a 90s action movie that borrowed some things from like John Wick. Some of the action scenes were very John Wick type. But then it also felt like a Luc Besson movie. He's kind of known for picking badass women and making them badass. I mean, that's kind of his thing. And this definitely in this vein for this movie too. It's the same kind of thing. It's very actiony and very twisty and turny, and it's very cheesy. I'll go into the negatives. It's cheesy. The dialogue and the story are cheesy at times, especially in the beginning. The first hour, there's no action, and it's kind of a lot of setup, and it was hard to get into at first. There's a lot of setup and a lot of cheesy dialogue and a lot of things that are like, okay, this is kind of goofy. Then in the middle, you get this really cool action scene. I mean, it's probably the best action scene in the movie. It's really badass. And then it picks up from there. Like the second half of the movie, I was really enjoying it. They do this thing where they kind of go back and forth in time over and over and over again. The movie's chopped up. They do this because they realize that the story is a little boring and if they had kept it in line, it wouldn't have been as exciting. They try and kind of fake some coolness, and it doesn't really work. It's probably a negative for me, but I didn't mind it. It made it easier to sit through, I guess. The main girl, I don't know what her name is. She's new for sure. She's really smoking hot. She's pretty good in the movie, but you had a lot of crazy people in here that I wasn't expecting. Luke Evans is in here. Helen Mirren is in here for a long chunk of the movie. You have, Cillian Murphy or Murphy Cillian. I can't remember. He's the guy that works with Nolan all the time. The Scarecrow from Batman Begins. He's in this. And they're all pretty good. Like the known actors in this film are pretty good. It's everybody else that's kind of like at one point in time she has this girlfriend, and she was not very good. But I will say one of the negatives for me, I would have gave a lot of this cheesiness. I mean, I love cheesy as long as they got good fight scenes. But there's only 2 in this movie. There's one really amazing one in the middle, and then there's a cool one at the end, and then there's not enough action in here. And Luc Besson, he wrote and produced the Transporter movies, so we could have had some cool stuff here. It's just felt like they didn't have enough budget, or I don't know what happened, because I think I would have rated this a lot higher if it had more action, and I would have forgave a lot of the cheesiness. But since it's only got 2 cool action scenes and the story isn't the greatest, I'm not gonna praise this movie as much as I want to, but it wasn't a complete disaster. It doesn't deserve a 20%. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. Because I enjoyed it, and I'd probably buy this and add it to my Blu-ray collection for the 2 fight scenes alone. And there's a couple other cool things that are kind of spoilers that I don't want to go into, but I enjoyed it. So 3.5 out of 5. On to the next movie. It's going to be Child's Play. Until next time, this is Randy Cage. Peace out.